Our universe contains infinite stories, most of which are about rocks and ice at sub-zero temperatures in a vacuum.
Humankind is a different kind of civilization sim. I know that sounds like a marketing sentence, and in fact it probably has featured, but it's true, and I've played my fair share. More than, actually. From Sid Meier's Civilization through Age of Empires, Planetfall, Crusader Kings, Stellaris. I wouldn't go far enough out on the limb to say that Humankind is better, necessarily, but it does feel unique. Perhaps the biggest deviation is that you don't pick a culture at the beginning and run with it. In Humankind, humanity itself is your civilization. You begin every game as a nomadic tribe with no home and no plan. You move your little troop of tribes people around the world looking for food, animals to hunt and curiosities to spur your fledgling nation into its first tentative steps. After establishing an outpost and then your first small city, you'll be allowed to choose a culture.
Hey, Adam from GodIsAGeek.com here. Sorry to interrupt, but if you wouldn't mind just hitting the big old subscribe button and maybe the bell to notify you of every new video we release, we'd be really grateful. Thank you so much and enjoy the video.
There's a lot to choose from too, from the zoo or the Egyptians to the Assyrians or Phoenicians, and each has their own look and city style. While this doesn't sound like much of a departure in itself, the beauty of Humankind is that you don't have to stick with your initial choice. Each race and culture brings its own civic ideals, potential religions, military units and aspirations. Once you earn enough era stars, you can transcend to the next era. And here's where you can make a sharp right turn into any of the other cultures. Once you do this, the two combine, sometimes synergizing in interesting ways. For example, your cities don't only produce districts and buildings, they also research and instigate infrastructures. These include national and cultural skills like fishing, debating, writing and irrigation, or city improvements such as libraries, universities, barracks or various marketplaces. These in turn can lead to new innovations, city tiles or even further infrastructures. City tiles include market squares, maker quarters, farms, animal sanctuaries, defensive rally points for your armies and a host of other essentials and, well, non-essentials. In Humankind, you won't have to worry about setting up harvest routes to gold or iron nodes either. If you claim a territory with a potential mine or other gather point in it, you can set up an artisan's quarter to make use of it. You can also buy resource nodes from your political allies. These nodes are indispensable once you have them, as they're required for creating and upgrading military units or for researching certain infrastructures. Iron, saltpeter, incense, copper, horses, aluminium, these resources and more will become the driving goal behind a lot of your expansion. Of course, claiming and expanding territory leads to conflict. While you can set the enemy AI to passive if you want to, the default mode is quite the opposite. You'll regularly be approached by other leaders, sometimes to form alliances, sometimes with ludicrous demands, sometimes they just want to trade or open up a trade route through your territory. You can customise all of them if you wish, right down to their looks and emblems. Unlike some civilization sims, Humankind doesn't beat you over the head with war. Now and then you'll find yourself in direct conflict that you can't avoid, and if you're not careful, enemies will occupy your towns. If they take them, they'll also get the territory and any resources therein. Unless you're confident of winning, it's better to avoid warfare altogether. Regardless, armies you use to explore, whether land-based or seafaring, will often end up in a fight. Mercenary bands roam the lands and will engage you on sight. Combat is fairly basic, it's a simple case of which side has greater numbers and unit strength. There is an element of random number luck in there too, as sometimes you'll go in with a far superior force and still lose. Despite the simplistic nature, battles for land or survival are still tense affairs, and I'd advise not choosing instant resolution, as the luck of the roll always seems to be against you. Though you can always choose to play multiplayer and face off against other people instead. Playing a few games pre-release I got lucky, as most people are roughly as clueless as I am. Give it a few months and there'll be some very dangerous armchair generals around. The multiplayer looks and feels almost identical to the campaign with one major caveat. Other people are crafty bastards. While the AI follows routines based on programmed personalities, people don't. Players will lie, concoct schemes behind your back and enact unpredictable campaigns against you. It makes for a much more dynamic but potentially much more frustrating experience. There's a great deal to manage in Humankind, as you can imagine. Time doesn't pass in years, instead it's based on turns. Each turn you can move all your units, select new infrastructures or buildings to work on, you can begin recruiting military units, conduct political meetings and assign new technology research. Although the first game you launch into will be endless, any new game will have a set number of turns, up to 600, before the game ends. Victory conditions include winning the space race or being the last nation left standing atop an empire of subjugated people. Each new game allows you to set parameters such as world size and geography, allowing for a unique starting point each time. City well-being is based on stability, which can be affected by anything from natural events to war or bad decisions on your part. As you advance, you'll unlock civics, which are binary choices concerning rules, religion, law and government. For example, do you want free speech or censored speech in your society? Do you want a multicultural nation or something more inward-facing? Should your government share power with your churches or impose national atheism? These choices all compact, synergize or conflict with one another, creating a truly unique nation with each playthrough. But by the time you reach the late game eras, you'll have something that functions despite any choices you make, but may not prosper if you made the wrong ones. You can use national games, festivals and religious holidays to appease your people, or rule with an iron fist to get results. Either way, these decisions are yours to make and will eventually lead you either to the stars or to ruin. It's toward the latter era that things begin to make less sense. It's possible to still have your people living in Tudor houses while your nearest neighbour is in skyscrapers, and despite building high-tech train stations, modern city blocks and even planes, there are still horses and carts trundling around your buildings. It's distracting and very odd, but symptomatic of being able to research technology so haphazardly. Humankind looks lovely though, and tiny details make a wealth of difference. Birds and wildlife wheel and frolic, minute people go about their business. The bright, colourful, aesthetic and likeable narration combine to create a sense of something almost like whimsy. I did, however, hit a few snags. Sometimes unloading in your cities will take several turns to become fully visible, and more than once the world leaders completely changed in appearance. Oh, and it has a tendency to eat your save games, which happened to me and cost me about 3 hours of expansion. Hopefully, these bugs will be ironed out at launch or soon after. Having played so many Civ Sims over the decades, it takes a special one to really get my attention. Recently, the likes of Per Aspera and Imagine Earth have taken the kind of chances only indie games can take, but Humankind seems to tread a line between those risky adventures and the more established franchises like Sid Meier's. Playing it is both deeply relaxing and yet mentally stimulating, requiring you to think and plan, but not constantly hitting you over the head with wars and disasters. The option to sculpt a nation from so many real-world cultures is genuinely exciting, and the creative scope is immense. I'm sure people are going to forge some incredible things once it launches. Despite a handful of technical issues that should be patched out quickly, Humankind is an effortlessly enjoyable, truly innovative civilization sim. There are some cracks in the shiny veneer for sure, but on the whole it's a great experience with almost endless replayability. Oh, and the theme music is absolutely stunning too. For that reason, I'm going to score Humankind from Amplitude Studios an 8 out of 10. Are you planning on picking up Humankind? Do you like civilization sims in general? Are you a fan of the genre? Either way, let us know in the comments and we'll have a chat. We love to hear from you guys. If you did enjoy the video, please hit like and subscribe. Maybe tag the bell icon too so you're kept up to date with everything we post. And if you want to support us via Patreon, you can go and do that. We appreciate everything that you guys do for us. In the meantime, I've been Mick Fraser for God is a Geek. That was a review of Humankind and you guys have been lovely. Bye.